Hi everyone, this is Killshot from Undead, and this is The Walking Dead Season 9. Will Daryl fight Alpha? Got some new information that came out today, an article that is almost like one of those Angela Kang type of articles where you get some information, and I think Norman might have given us a little bit too much. I do want to say with this stream tonight, we're not going to go into the confirmed spoilers like we did the last couple days. Now, there could be a little bit of spoiler speculation, a little bit of rumor, but we're not going to tie it too much into last week's episode. If we do, I'll give you guys a little bit of an advance warning. So what we do want to talk about is how this story could play out throughout the rest of the season. Let me also say, first of all, thank you for being here. Appreciate you guys. It's been a long week because a lot of us saw the premiere last week, and some people are, they're like, do I watch the stream? Do I not watch the stream? I'm so glad to get to Sunday when we can all just kind of get together and enjoy the show. I feel kind of like... I feel like our audience is a little split up. Do you guys feel that way? Like, I know we're having fun and we want to accommodate everybody, but it's almost like a revolving door. And I've gotten messages from a lot of people. So, Kills, I love your channel. I want to be there for every stream, but I'm just trying to hold out as long as I can on the spoilers. So we'll do the best we can just to kind of keep on the topic. We do have the rest of the week. We're going to have a stream on Saturday also, and Sunday is going to be our Walking Dead day. So we're going to do it like we always do. Wilson said I sold out. I had to sell out. I had no choice. So this interview is very, very telling, though, because we've done some funnel theories and some predictions and how we think that the final couple episodes are going to play out. And I'm open to revisiting that and coming up with a different theory, because I was of the mindset that Daryl will probably be captured because of Henry and everybody else. And now I'm starting to have some second thoughts that maybe Daryl will not be captured. It might be somebody else. And Daryl could truly become one of the hero right there with somebody that not everybody wants to be a hero. So let me jump right into it. This interview is with Entertainment Weekly. So if you're interested in seeing it, just go online and check The Walking Dead and you'll get it. It's only 4 or 5 questions, but it's not the questions. It really is the answers. So, first thing that they ask is what can we expect in the second half of the season? We've seen the whispers, and I think Norman starts out pretty straightforward, and, they know the death of Jesus. But I think it was Julia Muse. Julia, it was you, I think, the other night that said, you're looking forward to a conversation around the psychology of the whispers and how they think. And I'm definitely going to do that. In fact, I was going to start doing that tonight, but I think we'll save it for this weekend. It's interesting that Norman's first comment is exactly that. You're going to get into the psychology of who they are. Not just Alpha, but her daughter Lydia, and see how the group is dealing with that. And says, very, very clever the way they sort of infiltrate everybody. The threat is different than anybody that they've ever faced. So that's a direct quote. Now, I think on the surface, we see the whispers and just kind of their code and how they kill. Not only the psychology of Alpha, but I really want to get into maybe not the backstory, but what are their rules? Do they have any rules? What, are there any limits with them? Are there any lines that they won't cross? But the psychology is going to be something that I think is, it's going to be a tough stream to do, because it might be as eerie as the actual physical violence that they enact upon. So let me get on to, Norman also goes on to say that Daryl doesn't want Carol to be mad at him. And it's pretty true, right? Daryl, for somebody that takes over, he tends to say yes a lot before he knows what he gets himself into. And let's just go back to the Sanctuary, the first half of this past season. You can see Daryl was up there sort of leading the Sanctuary, and then he realized, I don't want to do this anymore. And he's just done. When he's done, he's done. And I think the chaperone thing with Henry, that was probably not going to be his first choice to do that, but now he's sort of stuck doing it. And a demo, Q&A, is the episode an hour or extended? It is about 42 minutes, I think 42 minutes when you did it on the premiere with no commercials. So I got to think it's probably just an hour. I can't imagine there's going to be more than 20 minutes of commercials. It might be one of those an hour and 5 minute type of things. Depends on how many commercials they're going to put, but I don't think it's going to be like, there's 3 versions of The Walking Dead. There's a regular, then there's the slightly extended, which usually runs over by like 5 or 6 minutes, and then there's the extended, which I think goes over by about 15 minutes. So this is probably going to be one of those that goes over by like a few minutes, I would guess. Right, Uncle Creepy? That's kind of Daryl. He always just sort of gets coerced into doing something. And you know what? He will. I'm not going to spoil it. And please don't spoil it for those watching at home. He will get coerced into doing something in this week's episode as well. I'll leave it at that. All right, let's go back to the interview with Norman. So, this is a good question because they want to know not only what will the second half be like, but they want to know specifically what the psychology of Daryl's going to be. So the question is, where is Daryl's head at? And Daryl answered that he sort of exiled himself for the horrible things that happened. He's looking for Rick's body. He won't give up. That's just who he is. He did that with Sophia, and he needs to figure it out. He's been put on this mission to bring Henry to the hilltop, as we discussed, and Daryl's like, screw it, I'll just do it. So, he kind of gets talked into that role. He's being forced back not only into part of his community, but once again being their protector. So that might actually have been as much of a spoiler as I just gave you. So this interview tells you that Daryl's going to be asked to protect some people. So I won't elaborate too much into that. I don't need to this was just kind of a bunch of talking around in circles where he talks about Daryl's character. But here's where it gets a little bit telling. He says, there's certain moments in the next 2 episodes where Daryl didn't get in someone's face. He kind of took a step back. He's watching. But then he talks about he's trying to get into the psychology of that mindset of what it takes to live a life in a dead man's face and walk among the dead. So some of that, I think you could say, I think that's a little bit of a spoiler. I think that's a little bit of a hint. Because he says he's trying to get into the psychology of what it's like. So that's going to be talking to Lydia. But it could also be in a literal sense when he gets to tracking and, will he be the one that puts on the face? Will he be the one that puts on the bodysuit? And I do think that's going to be him. That's why I think the storyline might change just a little bit. So we got Drama King, New York City, with a super chat. Says, not to get off topic, but we may need to start preparing for Michonne getting killed off. If she does, I hope she's a Pike victim out with a bang. Well, Drama, it's actually, it's not too much off topic because we talked about it a little bit last night. And the story is getting some legs. I would like to say that was something, and when I do this, it's like the chicken or the egg, what came first. I would venture a guess, not that we're first in talking about everything, but we really broke that down some time ago. So if we weren't one of the first to actually talk about it or put it out there, if we weren't, number one, we were definitely right around that time period because we speculate on so much things or so many different topics. And that's what I want everybody to sort of understand. It's like when we do these nightly streams, some of it we are going to stumble on something. Some of it we are going to get lucky. But the stream that we talked about gave a lot of options for Michonne. And as far as your super chat, preparing for it, I know we say this with every character, Drama, and a lot of times it's just our own personal selfishness. Like, I don't want Michonne to die. I don't think it's right for Michonne to die. Would it be the most amazing death on The Walking Dead? Absolutely. And the stream where we talked about it, that was my gauntlet moment, right? That was my I am Spartacus moment, was when I said that Michonne would be the biggest death in the history of The Walking Dead. And many people disagreed, and we laid out a bunch of different criteria why that would happen. In saying that, I still don't know that I want it to happen that way, because, Julia, I understand. I can't, that's where I think we get caught. Julia says, I just can't see them killing Michonne. I can't either, but if they did it and had the guts to do it, it would be phenomenal. I mean, it would be great. It would be the most epic death in the history of The Walking Dead. I will say that once again. If writers, if you're watching, as much as we'd hate to see it happen, it would just save her part in Walking Dead lore and make it the biggest death in the history of the show, in my opinion. Ever. It'd be tough to ever top that. So we got Sheila Beasley says, just saying, hey, and sending some love to my 999 family. Thank you so much, Sheila. Appreciate that. And the love is mutual. Can you feel the love tonight? Yeah, see, I think you draw drama as a follow-up. I think you draw a very good parallel there. She may want off the show, like Nick from Fear. And there was speculation for a long time, right, that Madison and Nick were the Whispers. So if they thought there was any chance that Nick was going to come back or Frank was going to come back, then they would have had him just sort of freak out and disappear again. So you bring up a great point. I don't know that Denai wants off the show like that, where I just don't see her going there and saying, hey, it'd be best if you just kill me because I'm never coming back ever and I don't want to be in your movies. But the one thing the movie does create is it makes us kind of hit pause a little bit. See, in the past, before there was a Rick Grimes movie, Scott Gimple got super smart with the spoiler sites, because we knew if it was a contract issue or something going on with the character, they had one choice, and it was kill him. Now with the movie, we've got to say, well, it would be good if maybe for the story if they killed him, or it could happen this way, but there's a possibility that this could happen. So, both sides of it gives us something to talk about, but it's going to be harder and harder to really nail down those predictions. James Denton wants to know if they will kill off Dog. I'm going to say no. But I do think there's going to be some moving, touching moments. Whether the dog disappears and then there's a reunion, or, that touching moment as we talked about where it could be a Eugene Rosita goodbye scene before a Pike thing happens. I don't know. I mean, I do think Angela Kang is going to keep a little bit of the kind of emotion and the relationship bonds and the love in there, but I think it's going to be a little bit more extreme this season and this half, where you can't really have the family building and people sitting down and having dinner together, but you can have these touching moments and then this epic violence. So they're going to have to pick and choose when they do these scenes. And one of the examples we gave the other night when we were talking about potentially Denai leaving, or what potentially could happen to Michonne's character, the money that she can make is going to dwarf anything that they can pay her on The Walking Dead. And the commitment necessary to The Walking Dead, it's a lot of work. And how much, do you want to be known the rest of your life for that character when there's so many other things that she can do? Oh boy. Mystics is starting a petition for Tara. Mystics, I would guess that Pete D is probably your first 50 signatures on that petition. So, Viola, here's what's interesting about that. So, Viola says, do you think they will do a comic book exit on Michonne, her going off looking for Rick, open-ended? There's so many. Sure, they could, and that could be the comic, but it would be so much different than the comic. Because the reason she left is because she didn't like the handling, how Rick was going about handling Negan. She thought Negan should die. And then she actually came back for the Whisper of War. So, yeah, this would be much, much later. You know, could she leave to look for Rick and that be her Michonne pirate moment? Sure. What I find funny is that Maggie appears to be the Michonne of the comic book. Would you guys agree with that? And I even heard this. Lauren Cohan said that they were talking about doing a Maggie spinoff. So in the comic book, Michonne, and hold on, I'm not finished yet. He's like, no. We were talking about who would get the Michonne pirate scene. And we said, it could be Rosita, could be Tara, could be somebody else. Maggie's not somebody we talked about a whole lot. So Michonne left in the comics, and we didn't circle back to discuss that. And the reason Michonne left is because of how Negan was dealt with. Well, in the TV show, Maggie left. And she left probably because she didn't like how Negan was dealt with. So you can see the similarity there. And many of you that watched the gaming in the past, when I played kind of the Michonne miniseries by Telltale, you can see a little bit of where Michonne met Pete, where Michonne met Sadiq. So Maggie seems to have that same relationship with Georgie, and I guess that's where the potential spinoff could have happened. It might have been just like a little mini-series, kind of like the video game we played, except probably not a pirate. So some things the same, some things different. And then would certainly follow suit if Maggie came back. But the timing is a little bit off. Let me get back to the interview just a little bit. You guys feel free to chime in. Get your thoughts, get your comments included in this video. Let's get to the next Daryl question. They did say we got some new faces. They always say this when there's good acting. And I remember at the end of Season 8, and they said Season 9 is going to be so good. So many good roles. Angela really, she kills it. And they were right, so they weren't lying about that. But Daryl does say the performances in the back 8 are just ridiculous. They are so good, so direct, and it's honest. The chaos is all there, but it's a different vibe right now. It's different type of storytelling, very interesting. Yeah, a lot of adjectives to describe how good it is. But he really gets into, there's a lot of Daryl and Alpha stuff coming up. So the two things where I think he was vague, said he had to get into the mind and the body and the psychology. But then he did say there's a lot of Daryl and Alpha stuff. Now that could be separate. Could be, there's two different storylines. I'm going to take it at face value. And I think, face value, yes, Daryl is going to have a little bit of a standoff with Beta. So how we think the last couple episodes play out really boils down to what you think happens when Daryl encounters Beta and when Daryl follows the Whisperers potentially back. And when we think those things happen. I'm just reading a couple comments here. I know, we got some awkward silence there. Because of the timing of it, and it probably won't be in 10, but let's say in 11. See, Creepy, that's what I think as well. I think Daryl follows them, but he doesn't get captured. I think he just kind of stakes them out. But it would be a little weird if he just left Henry there. But I think the Daryl Beta interaction is going to be at the fair. What do you guys think about that? You guys think that'll be maybe Daryl knows where they're located and then the fair goes on? They do something to sort of trap them or lure them back in? Because I think that's going to be one of the big questions is if Alpha is there either killing someone, if we think the Red Fair is going to be a major death, well, why does Daryl not do something about it? Well, maybe because Beta just freaking almost broke his back. So Daryl might be trying to help, but there needs to be a distraction, some type of a diversion, right? It does. Casey, I thought that too. The scene with Beta and Daryl looks like it's at the fair. Knocked out, captured, can't do anything. So I'm kind of ready for a semi-bold prediction. Well, Ellis possibly. See, I thought that as well. Ellis says the point is that he's captured, not saved. So, there's a little bit of a disconnect with me. If Henry is captured, and if Daryl would just kind of leave, go back, and then the fair happens, that bothers me a little bit. I mean, I don't see that. That's not congruent. But we got to get to a point where Henry gets himself in trouble and Daryl either frees him or what would make Daryl leave? Daryl's too loyal and he's too true to his character to just kind of go back and tell Carol that, hey, we're going to need some reinforcements because Henry got himself in some trouble. I feel like Daryl would walk in there and say, hey, take me, leave the kid alone. So we're going to have to get to that part. Or we just may be totally off on it. But here's what I would like to see happen. This is a bigger setup for me. I feel like let's just take the Henry story arc and just put that to the side. Henry's going to do what Henry's going to do, but we'll figure that one out. That's just going to be something that we're going to struggle with. But we get back to the fair, and major things go down at the fair. So if I had to just throw it all out there right now, Alpha kills Ezekiel at the fair after luring other people away. I think there's going to be several people end up disappearing along the way. Tammy Rose being tops on the list. So I don't think Ezekiel's going to get killed and then she's going to start taking these other people. I think it's just going to be one of those events where there's some interaction going, boom, that person disappears. There's some interaction going, boom, that person disappears. So we've got 5 or 6 people that are gone and they don't realize they're gone. Us as viewers, we're going to know that. And then I feel like there's going to be some chaos and some controversy, and there's going to be multiple things happening at the same time. The Walking Dead is notorious for one big event, but I think it's going to be a planned distraction, and we're getting bits and pieces. Ezekiel's up there giving a speech about the prosperity of all the kingdoms. And then wham, Alpha just stabs him right in the back. And then meanwhile, Beta's taking out Daryl. So the group is just completely helpless. Maybe Rosita gets captured. So all the people that you would think that would protect the hilltop. Michonne's already back in Alexandria, so she's not there. So now you take out Michonne, who's one of the best fighters because she's back telling her group. You got Daryl, who's there. You got Rosita, who's there, which are probably two of your more badass people. Rosita's been captured. Tammy Rose, nobody cares about her. She's gone. But then Daryl's going to be like their last hope, right? Daryl can save Ezekiel. And then the biggest of the baddest, Beta, puts him like in a bear hug and his body slams him over a table. So Daryl's knocked out. But you know what? I don't think they capture Daryl. That's where I'm going to leave it just a little bit off. Because Daryl's the star. That's one thing that I want to change up a little bit. I think Beta's going to knock him out, but not feel like I got to carry Daryl back. That's right, Wilson. See, Wilson, you know where I'm going with this. Absolutely. So even though, to me, the Henry is an unknown, if we can somehow get some synergy between Daryl and Negan, if they can put the character of Daryl in a situation where he just completely got his ass whipped and he's outnumbered and Negan has to be a partner toward that, I think that gives us a good balance, a good springboard. And I do think that will give us a little bit of that redemption quality that Negan needs. Remember, Steph, remember when Dwight came back and, they were all downstairs and Daryl put the knife in Dwight's face? And Rosita just said to Daryl, like, you're a good judge of character. So she kind of left it to be on Daryl. So Daryl has shied away from leadership. It has a dual benefit. And I think it would make Daryl, well, here's the dual benefit. One, we know that it would endear Negan to a lot of viewers. But I'm going to ask you guys, type your comment to this. What would be the benefit to Daryl if Daryl and Negan were to form a partnership? I can see the benefit to Negan, and I'm talking about from a viewer standpoint. So if Negan and Daryl were partners, then the crowd would be like, yes, they'd have a reason to pull for Negan. But from a fan standpoint, what would be the benefit of Daryl? And I'm going to read a couple of your comments. I got a couple super chats in here. And we got Drama King. It does look like they're fighting at the sanctuary. I'm going to have to go back and watch it. It looked like kind of a tent to me where Beta sort of walked by. And when I saw 10, I thought fair. But I'll check it out again. And June Smith says, Kills, what's the reasoning of making Negan look like Rick? It's a bit eerie. I'm going to talk about that in 1 second, June. Because I don't want to get too much into the spoilers. But I think people do know that Negan got some of his clothes. Kitty says they need able-bodied fighters. I think that's part of it. So Kel says Daryl's awesome, but he can't command a group of... So, no, I mean, I think that's part of it. That's really not what I'm looking for. I'm looking more from a developmental standpoint. So let me just kind of give you my thoughts on this. Why I said it's a dual benefit. They do. And Mystics, I think you're right. You guys are coming at it from the perspective of Daryl needs another leader. And although I won't disagree with that, I think for Daryl to transition his character on the show away from just being a person that's out in the wilderness, I guess it's all those things that we love about Daryl. He's loyal. He'll never give up. But he doesn't really talk that much. He grunts a lot. He's just out there in the wilderness. If Daryl's going to transition to a lead on the show, if Daryl's ever going to be more about the group than Daryl, then he's going to have to make very, very tough decisions. Thank you so much, Rick Fisher. You know, you make my heart warm up when you say I just sat through a 30-second ad. You are the man. Leadership is not just about being out there with a crossbow and doing something for yourself or doing something for other people. Of all the things that Daryl would have to do as a leader that would be extremely difficult, partnering with Negan would be one of the most difficult things. That would be a tough decision for the greater good of all the communities and potentially the people whose lives are at risk. So I don't think the viewers are going to have a hard time accepting Negan, because I think there's a lot of people that are sort of anxious to see that partnership. But I think it's going to be harder for people to accept a change of Daryl's character. I don't see Negan as a Rick Grimes. I don't see Daryl as a Rick Grimes. In fact, one could argue that Aaron might be closer than the other two, but Aaron's not the star of the show. And if you're going to give that mantle to Daryl and to Norman Reedus, there needs to be some transitional things in his character, and forgiving the most vile, graphic, brutal incident on Walking Dead television up to this point, the death of Abraham and Glenn, it's going to get worse than that. But Daryl moving on past that and using Negan's skills for what Negan is good at, it puts Daryl in the driver's seat. How many people are afraid of Negan getting too much power and not being able to contain himself, getting power hungry, being in charge again? How many people still have that fear? It's like, hey, you know, Negan can help out, but it could go to his head. So Viola says yes. Julia says, I hope Negan doesn't go to that. Kind of. There's a few people, right? I know Steph thinks that. Casey says it's a worry. Wilson's in the back of my mind. So if you're going to maximize Negan's capability and you're going to prevent him from taking over, what's the best way to do that? I'm not just talking about, you know, the love of Judith and the relationship. And it's right there in front of us. There's a very easy way to fix this situation. And it's something out of the box. It has to do with the transformation of Daryl Dixon. If Daryl... See, Steph, this is where you're completely wrong. And I'm going to tell you why. Those of you that are afraid of Negan taking over, if Daryl develops, Negan will not take over Daryl. Daryl has the ability to be a more powerful character. Daryl has the ability to be a leader if they give him a slight transition. And if Daryl accepts Negan, then Daryl is the person that is physically in control of Negan, emotionally in control of Negan, and psychologically in control of Negan, because he's going to be the person that Negan will have to answer to. And that's why the transition of Daryl is so important. So to worry about Negan taking over again would mean that he would overpower Daryl. And I don't think that's going to happen. That's where his wisdom... You got to stop thinking of Daryl being a grunt and a woodsman and somebody's just out there hunting. You got to think about Daryl of being somebody that's going to say, I'm going to use you for what your capabilities are. You use the person before they get a chance to use you back. And if you do that, Negan is completely powerless. He's powerless to lead because he would have to recruit people that would have more respect for Daryl than they would have to not only betray Daryl, they would have to betray Negan. So what is Negan going to do to ever get in charge again? This is how unrealistic it would be. One, he'd have to kill Daryl. Not going to happen. Then he would have to convince all these people to follow him again, which is another impossibility. It's done. It's over. The only thing we need to do in order to get there is just to develop Daryl a little bit more and give Daryl a little bit more of what he needs, which is leadership. And he's done it a couple of occasions. And he shied away from it. This will be the time that he does it, because Daryl's going to realize he's responsible for all these people. If Michonne is not there, if Rick is not there, if Maggie's not there, if Ezekiel is dead. Let me say this again. I'm gonna say this so you guys really, it needs to dig in and become permanent. Rick is gone, Maggie's gone. If Ezekiel dies in front of Daryl and Michonne is not there, every decision is squarely on his shoulders. So you see this vile warrior. Daryl might actually be the person to build Negan up just enough where he's a benefit, where he's a resource. Because I don't even know at this point if Daryl needed Negan. I don't know that Negan would say, yep, I'm right here for you. I'm ready to go out and Lucille a couple people. It might actually be Daryl that has to talk him into helping or fighting for something or to prove himself, which I think would add a lot to that as well. And that's where I think season 10 is going to go into. Mystic's like, he's just going to make him, he's going to make him spaghetti. The writers were extremely careful to strip Negan of everything to a point where he's not even going to be a resource in the beginning. And, you know, you might even get one of those scenes where Negan's like, well, why should I help? You know, because you got to fight for something. I mean, there's going to be people at risk here that I think Negan's going to want to help. And let me add another element to it. If something happened to Michonne and Judith, you think about this for 1 second. Negan has been #1 since he showed up in season 7. He's been the main focus. A Negan takeover. I don't know. You know, let me ask this question. I don't even know why I'm asking it, but I'm going to. June, I think just because there's this thought of who Negan was. And I could probably spend hours talking about Negan. Give me a character who's going to follow Negan. Actually, give me 5 characters on the show right now who are going to follow Negan, who's been in jail for 7 years. All right. Yeah, I mean, there's some people struggling. Just out of curiosity, as viewers, the guy with the beard. So nobody can name like more than one. Fair enough, fair enough. All right, we're going to make it real for everybody. So, if any of you were in the zombie apocalypse, how many of you, let's say Negan shows up tomorrow in the current state of where we're at, how many of you would say, look, I don't want to be in Alexandria, I don't want to be in Hilltop, I want to be in Kingdom, I'm going to go follow Negan. How many of you would drop your allegiance to whoever you're allied with and go follow Negan? June, that's a question for you. Would you follow Negan? Would you not even follow Negan? Would you, if Negan came to you individually and said, I am going to go back to my old self. I got my leather jacket, and I'm going to run this joint. There's about 200 other people in all the communities, and I need a few recruits, and me and you are going to run this. How many people would say, you know what, I don't like Hilltop anymore. I don't like, having a garden. I don't like, eating whenever I want to eat. I want to go back to a point system. How many of you would follow Negan? I'm going to probably say nobody. None. And just as a follow-up question, and then I'm going to move back to our Daryl Alpha. So we got, we got a couple hundred people in this stream. Probably about the number of people that are in all the communities, right? So all these names you see scrolling up, you see Allison Blair, and you see Alan Arthur, and Nino, and Leanne Gash, and Lisa Khaleesi, and Cassandra, Anna, Coma Drug. I see all of you there. It's an awesome group. So let's just say Wilson. Wilson's my buddy. Let's just say for argument I'm Negan. And Wilson is the one person that I convinced to join me. So it's me and Wilson. And we decided we're going to fight all of you. The other 200 people that have been in the stream since we started. So there's 2 of us. There's me and Wilson. How worried are the other 198 of you? Are you guys pretty worried about 2 of us? You think me and Wilson can take all you guys? Yeah, I don't think so either. Thank you. Some of you have a little bit of confidence. I appreciate the vote of confidence. But let's be realistic here. You know what? Maybe me and Wilson on a good day, we could probably take out a couple of you, maybe a few, but you get my point. That's the threat. The writers have bent over backwards. Look, the first journey with Negan was an emotional journey where Rick cut his throat. Then they jailed him. Then he lost Lucille. Then he had to face Maggie. Then he built a relationship with Judith. Then he lost all his people. Then he broke out. The writers have given us, those are 7 different things that I've counted out that have completely stripped him of every ounce of ability that he ever had. He's nothing at this point. I'm going to take it a step further. If the Whisperers capture Judith, that's a big if. But if the Whisperers capture Judith, what type of Negan do you think we'll see? You think we'll see somebody that's out there trying to recruit a whole bunch of saviors? Somebody that's looking to betray Daryl? Or do you think somebody that's going to do anything to fight for the one thing in this world that is important to him? And I think we can all agree, based on, at this point, you have to use your eyes. And those of you that watched the premiere, not going to spoil it for the people that haven't, but I have said multiple times that this relationship is something that is starting to grow. So, this has been a lot about Negan, even though it's about Daryl and Alpha. So, here's my question. Has Negan changed? Honest answer. Why didn't he kill Judith? Why didn't he kidnap Judith? Yeah, she's got a gun. But I really think Negan could have been clever enough. If he really wanted to trick Judith, he could have. He wanted to leave. It wasn't a power play. Steph, and that, I think you're kind of right and wrong at the same time. He's broken, deflated, not changed. I think he's broken. I think he's deflated, but he's also changed because he wasn't broken and he wasn't deflated before. So by default, he's different, and different would be changed. And time is going to tell. But there's also, he has no recruiting pool. It's not like he's got people lined up just ready to join. Now, before all those, you know, the big difference was before Carol burnt down all of his people, then that would have been, if they were going to make Negan rise to power again, that would have been the time to rise to power. When he still had people that were ready to make him a martyr. I mean, he could have led a group, but there's nobody to lead anymore. And believe it or not, this is important. And yes, Ellis, I didn't want to go that much into spoilers, but yes, and we're going to wind this down before we get, before we let too many clues out there. But this Western journey, visiting old sites, that's important. That's not just filler. That's not just something they just wanted us to see. And I don't think they want us to see that to ultimately go back and say, see, you can't ever change. The reason and why we talk so much about Negan when we're in a Daryl and Alpha stream where we're talking about that is because I think the journey of Negan is relevant whether it's in coordination with Daryl or whether it's in coordination with Magna or whether it's in coordination with Judith. I think that's going to be the big play at the end. No worries. Thank you so much, Twin on Tour. Appreciate that super chat. And I think I saw the comment up there a little bit early. I was kind of in the middle, but when you said this is an awesome, awesome chat, you guys make it awesome. I love the psychology, the debate, the dialogue, how we analyze each character. And because we do get into the psychology of the character, a lot of times I think that helps us get to what's going to happen before the spoiler sites get there. And I'm going to stand by this until otherwise. A lot of people think the season is going to end with the territory, with the Pike scene. I don't. I don't think the season is going to end on a terrible, terrible note. Because I think there's going to be so much bloodshed and the Pike scene is going to be traumatic enough that you can't leave the season that way. Drama, that's interesting. Tell me what you mean by that. Drama says Daryl and Alpha may have things in common. And I haven't really approached it from that, but like what? I want to see kind of specifically which direction. I mean, I don't think how they lead. Maybe the propensity to be barbaric, abused. Okay. My army used the word discombobulated. There you go, Wilson. There's my alpha voice, and the 999 Army's word of the day is discombobulated. Your people were not discombobulated. Did I miss Drama's follow-up? If, you know what, I think I finally, it does. It sounds like KFC, but you know who it really sounds like? Actually, I'm going to give you guys some homework, and then we'll wind the stream down. Let me finish kind of my thought, and then I'll tell you a little bit of the story. So, I don't think, with all the death, and I do think Ezekiel may die at the fair. I think the fair is going to be a really traumatic event, a major death, and then you're going to get some decapitations. You're going to get the Pike scene. I do feel like there's going to be a Negan surprise at the end, and whether it be with Daryl, whether it be with Judith, I think it's going to be them kind of figuring out a way to help people. I feel like the season's going to end in that way, like a mini cliffhanger. If Alpha's voice is this is the best analogy I could think of, is the female version of the guy in Guns N' Roses' Civil War from the movie. What we've got here is failure to communicate. Some men you just can't reach. So if that was a woman's voice, Alpha would be the one doing the beginning of the song. If you guys know the song, you'll know what I'm talking about. I don't know what the movie is. I know it's from a movie. Right? There you go. It's from Cool Hand Luke? Okay. I should know that then. You get what we have here last week, which is the way he wants it. Well, he gets it. I should. I mean, I know the whole line, right? All right, cool. Well, there you go. There's where Alpha was born from. Yeah. Alpha's not a... I don't know that Alpha has an accent. I don't think you can nail that down. Maybe Appalachian Mountains or something. I'm not sure. And if any of you are from Appalachian Mountains, I probably just offended some people. if you are, I'm sorry. It's definitely not a Georgia accent, I can tell you, because I have a Georgia accent. All right, we are going to wind this thing down. We are at 56 minutes. Once again, I want to thank all of you guys for being here. Been a good week of streams. We got a lot of things happening on the channel, and we did the Passage countdowns. We do Passage reactions. We had Walking Dead spoilers. And even we found a way, with all the spoilers going on and many of us knowing what happens, to actually have a couple streams where we could dig down and get into psychology. If you guys are new, subscribe, because I can tell you, once they get through this whole premiere BS, a week early, we're going to be back on our regularly scheduled program, which is going to be, starting on Sunday morning, we'll have a Walking Dead topic, and then we will do a countdown at 8 o'clock where we wind it down, and we'll watch the show, then we do reactions, then we're going to go into a recap on Monday, then we'll watch the Passage, and we'll have that. So many cool things. To let you know a little bit about our channel, 999 Gaming is continuing to grow. We're going to start some streams there within a couple of weeks. We hit our goals on 999 Dead. Over 2,000 people. We only set this up, like a month and a half ago? So we got a couple thousand people watching here. And we're about to hit a milestone on our third channel, which is 999 Army. I think we hit like 920 subs, so we're about 80 subs short of hitting our 1,000 goal with that as well. So if you haven't subscribed to all three, I know most of you have, subscribe especially to 999 Army, because that's where our contests are going to be, our Game of Thrones, our caption that we do over there. So we're just going to have a lot of activity on every channel. And that's my advertisement. Just wanted to say that. So let me give a couple shout outs as we end the stream. Patreons in the top left-hand corner. You guys are incredible. Thank you so much for everything that you guys do for the channel. Sponsors, top right-hand corner. The super chatters, as always, we got people super chatting it up in here. So let me give a special shout out to each and every one of you. That's Drama King with multiple super chats. Sheila Beasley. June Smith making the Negan argument. There you go, June. Twin on tour. And also Wilson in a alpha female Forrest Gump voice. You know what, Wilson? I'll try. I didn't forget about you. You know what? I don't think I can do it. Run. I can't. I think Forrest Gump would pretty much be the same thing. Run, Forrest, run. Yeah. It just doesn't flow. You're going to have to give me a follow-up, like a sentence or something. We'll get that one in the next one. Thank you so much, everybody. Appreciate everything that you guys do. Give me some quick 999s. I want to do some shout-outs on the way out the door. And we will be back on Saturday morning at 11 o'clock. So no stream tomorrow night. Take Friday night off. Everybody have a good time. Hang out. Have dinner with your family. Do what you do. And be back here Saturday morning, 11 o'clock. we'll have another Walking Dead topic. So I want to say what's up to Patrick Ivers, Coma Drug, Ralph Albertine, Lynn Nesvik, Tammy Hill, Gina Crockett, Bumblebee Brown. What's up, B Squared? Julia Muse, Viola McGowan, Twin on Tour, June Smith, Corey Bullmeyer, DJ. How you doing, DJ? Walking Dead Nerd, Wilson, Mike Reiser, Cassandra Boom, Logan 5. Thank you so much. John Rod, Tanya Dockstader, thank you. Sheila Mack, Crystal the Singer Chick, Paul Stitz. I don't know. You know, if I was on The Masked Singer, you guys think that you'd recognize my voice? I think I could get away with it. I think I could disguise it. Thanks, Lisa Khaleesi. Hippo in the house. What's up, man? Edwin Gonzalez, thank you. Kathy Parker. Yeah, I'm too obvious. You're right. You're right. Dark Stark, what's up? Thanks, Uncle Creepy. Appreciate that. Wilson. Phyllis, 9654. K. Smith. Have a good night. Samantha Coombs, thank you. Have a good night, Amy. Thank you. I guess if I went on The Masked Singer, I would probably do that. I could start out and do multiple voices, and then you'd know, like, what we have here is failure to communicate. And then you go from that to Axel. I don't need your civil wow. That one. Yeah, you guys would know me. I'm dead in the water. Rebecca Mendez, have a good night. Thank you so much. And I think with that, I am going to I'm going to wind down, and I'm going to go listen to Guns N' Roses Civil War. I just gave myself a homework assignment. Thanks, everybody. I will see you all Saturday morning, and stay tuned. Sunday is going to be an awesome, awesome day. Looking forward to that. All right. Peace, everybody. Have a good night.